Ready? Great. I call to order the Lynchburg Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, April 8th, 2026. First order of business is the approval of our March 25 minutes. Any additions, corrections, or changes? Motion to approve. Second. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? One abstention? Okay. All right, now we will be hearing petitions open to public comment. There aren't people here, so I'm not going to go through that. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the item for public hearing. It's a petition of Liberty University, Inc. for a conditional use permit in a B5 general business district to allow the construction of 2 new dwellings and the continued use of the former hotel structure as dormitory housing at 3839 Murray Place and 3436 Oddfellows Road. And before you go on, Rach, I just wanted to point out, just for transparency, I have done a lot of work with the school over the years, but that will not impact my impartial, I'll be impartial on this one. So
Okay.
no conflict there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of Planning Commission. As stated, the purpose of this petition is to allow the use of two new dwellings and the continued use of the former hotel structure in a B5 general business district. Our comprehensive plan future land use map recommends mixed use and resource conservation uses for the properties. The housing would be located or is located in the mixed use area, which is the hatched area you see on the map. These areas are intended to be a balanced mix of residential, neighborhood, commercial, civic uses, parks, and open spaces. The subject properties were annexed into the city in 1940, and the existing B5 General Business District was established in 1978, along with the RC Conservation District. The portion of the properties where the dwellings and dormitory housing will be located is in the B5 district, which is the brown portion shown on the zoning map. In this district, schools, colleges, and dormitory housing are permitted upon approval of a CUP or conditional use permit from council. The subject properties consist of approximately 10 and 77/100 acres located at 3839 Murray and 3436 Oddfellows Road. The facility was originally constructed as a hotel. It currently contains 4 existing residential buildings with a total of 260 units and 500 beds. The property has been used as student housing for several years now, although staff, I think as well as LU staff, could not find documentation or official approval of the facility as a dormitory. The continued use of the existing facility as dorms is included in this petition for the 2 additional residential units to formalize the use. The 2 new dwellings would be for resident directors, which are professional live-in staff which oversee the dorm facilities. In summary, the construction of the 2 new dwellings and the continued use of the former hotel structure as dormitory housing should have limited impact on the surrounding area. The city's technical review committee reviewed the petition on March 3rd. Comments were minor in nature, and the planning division recommends approval of the CUP petition. Thank you.
Thank you. And who's here to speak on behalf of this petition? If you could please come forward, state your name, sign in, and tell us a little bit more about what you all are doing.
I'm the Senior Vice President of Facilities Planning and Management at Liberty University, and I'm here on behalf of the university to petition for this project. Let me sign in real quick. Okay, so Rachel did a great job of explaining it, but basically we've got a need and a want to get some resident directors out at the facility. Right now, we don't have any resident director space, so it came down to a very simple math equation. We could cannibalize the use of 6 rooms inside the building to make RD apartments, or we could look at some sort of an external housing function. So we want to keep as many beds as possible. We've got a kind of a surge in on-campus housing demand. So we made the decision to propose the 2 new units that would sit in the parking lot as she's got circled in the blue. So these would be standalone modular units that we could procure quickly and get put in place. The upcoming fall 2026 would be the target to have them ready to go. We'd probably try to move them in sometime over the summer with all the proper approvals. And the RDs are more 12-month. They're not really academic calendar year based. So as soon as they're ready, we get the RDs put in place. It would give the students that are living out there another resource for leadership and counseling and just a little more oversight. So we're very excited to enhance that as a housing property. As Rachel also touched on, we kind of discovered that, there doesn't seem to be a CUP in place for the existing. So my predecessor was in charge. I wasn't in charge at that point. We kind of discovered it, and we wanted to include that as part of this approval. So both parcels would be under the approved CUP. So just basically trying to clean up the paperwork, so to speak. So happy to answer questions if you have any.
Great, thank you. Anybody else here to speak in favor? And you might want to just stay because there's no one here, obviously in opposition. We have no emails. All right, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing, and then any questions that we want to address?
I just have a question regarding water, domestic water and sewer. Like, how is that connected? Are you planning to connect that, or what's that?
That was one thing that came up in the TRC review,
Okay.
and I think Rachel was there. We talked about the possibility of either pulling it from the existing facility or pulling new service. And because the new housing is going to be on the new parcel, we don't want to join the parcels together. We'd prefer to pull separate services for the
Sure.
houses. So we would look to pull all new services for the two houses. Now, I say that I would prefer to keep both houses under the same service, not have two individuals, because we're not going to be charging utilities back. So we propose have one water meter and one electric, gas, all that for the two houses.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So I noticed these are more like, are they temporary structures? Are these permanent? They're modular, but they're permanent?
Modular but permanent. We're looking for speed to market kind of thing. And to be brutally honest with you, we've seen the cost of construction in the field skyrocket. And we're seeing right now the trend is we can actually buy the more factory built units. And these are little 1,100 square foot, couple of bedroom type units. So the speed to market is really the key, the goal. And we wanted to make sure we got the paperwork done with the city first before we committed to ordering anything. So I think our city council meeting would be in May to finalize. So it doesn't give us a lot of time before the academic year. So they would be permanent installations, have foundations and permanent utilities and everything.
I think I saw somewhere in here, I can't find it now, that the student resident situation is temporary
Student resident situation.
in the hotel or whatever you're calling it.
I think he's referring to in the narrative you talk about, as part of the university's long-term planning process, there's a plan to get the campus housing or the student housing closer to campus.
Yes. Yeah, so we don't see this as a forever home for dorms. One of the things that we're looking at at the spring board meeting here, and it's coming up in a week, is we're going to look at the next on-campus dorm. The other thing that I don't know if it's been reached you guys yet, but we did buy the Extended Stay America property right there at the corner of University Boulevard and Candler's Mountain Road. So we're going to be converting that to a dorm. So the overall long-term goal would be to get the housing closer to campus. So when you say temporary, I'm thinking 6 months. This is more a 3
I
to
think it's
5 year.
years,
Yeah.
but you've been here since 2020?
I think it's actually a little bit longer
Longer
than
than
that.
that,
We were talking about that. They don't have they didn't have strong documentation, but I know it's been there at least since 2015, because when we did the 2015 proposal across the street on Albert Langford, I know there was students in this as a dorm at the time, I'm fairly certain. So probably more like 2010. We're just not exactly sure.
Okay.
So they have been in there for some time.
Yeah, the 2019 is the date when the property actually transferred into Liberty ownership. And before it was owned by another party, and we had an agreement to basically lease or use the facility for housing. But yeah, it's been used for housing for quite a while.
So what is the horizon for, I guess, sunsetting residency out in this space?
I wish I could answer that question right now. The goal is to get housing closer to campus. The goal is to look at and possibly another tower at south, closer to dorm 33. We've got the extended stay. I don't think this is it's just not something that we've figured out exactly what to do with the properties after they stop being dorms. So for right now, we see the at least 3 to 5 year window, because the brutal reality is today, if you start construction. Like if I pulled the trigger and said, I want to build a dorm tomorrow, it's going to take 2 years before I can get anything occupiable as far as a dorm. So we know that it's at least a 3 to 5 year window, knowing that our master plan is still being worked on.
Thank you.
Well, I was just going to say, I think this is a good opportunity for growth for Liberty, because you see they're growing, and you see many other universities in the state of Virginia and colleges are retracting and doing all kinds of different things to try to get students, and Liberty is doing a great job.
We appreciate that. And, we value our students, and we are trying to increase our enrollment. So we're trying to do things that make the students want to come. So
Okay, so as the others have been asking their questions, a couple of things that I had have been addressed. Looking down the long term, obviously the hotel is not the permanent solution for this. I think that's probably obvious, not the permanent solution in terms of housing for students. I mean, not long term anyway. Eventually Liberty's going to do something with that property. Getting the conditional use permits to put these in. Right along 2 sections of highway there, looks like Oddfellows and 29. So there, paragraph 6 proposes constructing 2 single-family dwellings, but of course, obviously, as we mentioned, look at the pictures, these are modulars. Another term for that is single wides. So single wides being placed right next to there. Typically, something like that might be used as an office space or something. As far as living arrangements, these they'll be nice at first, but something happens, something magical happens when you put a single wide on a permanent foundation. It tends to become a permanent fixture as opposed to using the traditional mobile home foundations, which render them personal property, which would be owned by the college. And I wonder if it would be easier to remove these things at some point rather than leaving them there as a permanent fixture on the property, which could happen if Liberty sells the property and the conditional use permit remains in place. Those trailers, single wides, could stay there theoretically for an indefinite period of time, especially if you put them on a permanent foundation. Putting them on a temporary foundation would leave them kind of in the Netherlands of the 3 to 5 year, technically permanent future for this property, and still allow you to move these things without leaving some kind of a housing exception there, as these will be labeled residences and they'll be on permanent foundations. So issuing a conditional use permit for 2 single wides on permanent foundations seems like it creates some long-term maybes in there. So what's the reality of maybe just putting these things on temporary foundations?
I don't think we would be opposed to it. I guess, would this be considered single-family housing, or would this still be considered dorm use?
Well, since they're not technically being considered dorms, are they, because they're for RAs and RDs, they're not for students, right?
They're not for students, they're for resident directors, which technically is still an employee, a university employee function. We wouldn't want to just lease them or sell them outright as single-family homes.
Example, those houses up on Liberty Mountain, the new ones, I guess, where some of the Liberty staff lives up there. Those are not considered dorms, right? Yeah. Why is that? What would be they're still Liberty staff. They're granted as a perk to the college. Is that right? I'm not trying to create problems here. I'm trying to look down the road and see what this property is going to be doing in 5 years. And what I don't personally want to see is 2 single wides on permanent foundations stuck there for an indefinite period of time.
Right.
So,
No, I don't think we would be objectionable to putting them on temporary foundations. I don't know as I can answer the question what the difference is, other than that I believe is already zoned residential, so that already fits single-family housing. And we do that, or we have that for short-term employees. We have staff that will get hired and they need a short-term until they can figure out where to live. So it's just kind of a rebound or a buffer where they can get permanently settled. This, I don't think the intention was to ever get this classified as residential for single-family home.
No, I understand that. I guess it doesn't really have to do with Liberty or Liberty's intent is per se. What it has to do with is the classification of a single wide, what it is.
Right.
Under real estate laws, historically, typically, they're not considered houses. They're considered personal property, a tax like your car, right? And they're treated as such with financing. They require special financing. They require special circumstances, they require special taxation, blah, blah, blah. When you put them on a permanent foundation, suddenly all that can change. So, and it becomes a residence. It may no longer be considered personal property. It might now suddenly be considered real estate or an improvement to the real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And so looking down the road, I don't know what can happen. I guess as far as a permanent versus a temporary foundation, it just seems like, it just seems to maybe get rid of some ambiguity down there, putting on a temporary foundation. And I say that as I've been in real estate almost 25 years, and I'm not just pulling this out of my hat. Maybe part of it I am, but looking down the road, I'm not trying to create problems. I'm trying to avoid them down the road. So
Chuck, are you worried about this property changing hands, this conditional use permit setting a precedent, and then we have a trailer park there?
yeah, basically.
Does this CUP transfer to the owners?
So it could, that's come up recently with another petition that we have ongoing. I don't know that I could really speak to the specifics of building code on the temporary versus the permanent foundation. My understanding is that it would need to be on a permanent foundation. I don't know that we could allow it on a temporary or basically an axle, a frame.
Usually it's a skirt. They just.
Yeah, yep. But I don't know that we allow those in the city, new ones. So bearing that in mind, we don't permit single household detached by right in B5. It is by CUP. I think this is a little different because we're talking about it being dorms and associated with the university. If
And yet they're
planning-
not technically dorms. They're.
Yeah, I hear you. I was going to suggest if the planning commission feels strongly about it, you could add a condition, something like, and if LU is amenable to this, should the dormitory use at
Change.
3436 Oddfellows cease, the modular
To
units
function as a
would
support
be.
for the dormitories, if then.
I was going to say if
Conditional
the dormitory use at the main property ceases, the modular units would be removed. Is that?
That would be suitable.
Is that-
I think that would address the problem.
Well, I guess we would need to get the foundation clarification, because if we permanently install them, obviously that's going to be a
They're on a
much bigger
foundation.
deal.
Yeah.
And
You've
if
got
we had a
water,
temporary monument.
electricity, you got sewer, you got everything.
So if we could get the foundations clarified, I would have no problem putting that in, knowing that it would be easy for us to extract them, so. if we
So
can get
otherwise
that-
they're considered permanent. And otherwise they're considered permanent and they're likely to be rolled in with whatever else. Because depending on what I was going to do with it, I would probably try and roll those in. And by then they're going to be a little older units and they
Or-
could theoretically stand permanently.
I think the route I heard you going was add a condition that the modular units could only be used for a use associated with the dormitory.
Support of the university, support of university function, support of dormitory
Yeah.
use.
Yeah.
In the absence of that, they must be removed. But then your question was, what you're left with are these open foundations that have water, electricity, and sewer running to them. And when you cap them off,
But we often don't add language. If they're not in compliance, they must be removed. We just say,
take them out.
these are the appropriate uses allowed. I mean.
Right. I also don't think that we allow trailer parks. I don't think that's something, so I don't see that. I see this more, there's a building that's on the top right. It's all a support building. It's got kitchen, the lobby. It doesn't have any housing in it. So I look at these as more like a support building. And I think this is one of those buildings that really has very little use outside of what it's being used for right now. I don't see anybody making it a boutique hotel. So I would imagine that when this is done, I would think that the overall structure would be changing either way.
Is Liberty, do you have an idea what Liberty's 5-year, 10-year plan is for this parcel, these parcels?
what we're going to end up redeveloping it with.
I mean, is that the plan? I don't know if they're going to redevelop it into, or sell it or what?
I know that the property right across the street, we are looking to sell.
Is it the restaurant or
Actually, it's called North Point. And
Oh, the
do you have
hotel.
Old
address?
Sheraton.
The one on
Yeah.
Albert Langford?
Yeah, the
Hotel.
multi
doesn't
store.
sell it?
Yeah, so
So likely that's what will happen with this one. as well.
likely, I would say it would probably be a
The
sell.
old GE building.
Yeah.
Not the GE, what is it? The insurance building down there.
Right.
And I thought, again, you said there was uncertainty. CUPs did not transfer to new
That's what I
owners.
said too. Yeah.
Yeah, there is, the city attorney has cautioned that we may run into some enforceability issues on that, so I would.
Right, because
I
what do you do if this building is no longer allowed?
Right.
Because someone else bought it.
But
Yeah.
we're, the condition, these are dorms, and the condition, if the condition changes, if someone buys it and they're not using it for dorms, then that would change everything, right? Then it would have to
If
go.
they're not
and
using
get
it for dorms, it would be a
Right,
zoning
yeah,
violation.
so I don't think, I don't think there's another college that might use them for dorms. So in that case, that would be a big change.
What are you thinking, Dave? I can see the wheels.
Well, no, I mean, I think it's, I don't have a problem with it. I understand your concerns, but if someone wanted to build, I mean,
Principally,
but I was
looking down.
right, and you want it to be especially along the bypass, a good-looking setup. But approval of these two units would not mean someone could go in and build additional units, correct? They'd have to come before us.
And that's the way the conditional use permit is worded right now.
Right, basically, the condition now is that it will be developed in compliance with
Strict
this plan.
compliance.
Yeah.
What's the flume
Well-
say?
And
Where's that? I didn't see the section.
The future land use map talks about mixed use in this area.
Mixed use, does that include residential?
It can.
so we're.
However, I don't know that a manufactured home community is the right type here.
But I don't think we're opening the door for a lot of similar structures going up because
It's mixed use.
it would not be in compliance with the site plan. They'd have to have a new site plan and have to come
Right.
before
In
us.
the-
It would be a
zoning.
site.
Yeah, in the zoning, basically, you,
They'd have to come back
Except-
for us, and
Yeah.
if we're still here or not.
Or DRC or someone, yeah.
Yeah. And
Rachel,
then,
question to you on the a couple of months ago, we approved where when you're talking about a permanent foundation or a temporary foundation. In this very similar nation, I know they were classrooms at the University of Virginia Lynchburg when that was approved. These units look exactly like the ones that I viewed over there. So I don't know, are they on permanent foundations over there?
I believe they are on permanent foundations, although they told us that was intended to be temporary. I mean, we have to go off of what they say, but they are on permanent foundations. Yes.
And can you remind us of what we ruled for those
I
looking
believe
forward?
You recommended approval of those classrooms.
yeah, they're on permanent foundations, and they're a little different. I think they're more of a,
I don't think those
They're-
are true.
no, they're not. They're not the same.
Modular units side by
Yeah, they're
side,
more
right?
like a building-looking modular unit.
Classrooms.
Yeah. These are single wides we're talking about today. So, and hence the concerns. Again, in principle, I don't have a problem with what Liberty's trying to do, support Liberty, went to Liberty. Just looking down the road, our job is to make sure that the city develops in conformance with future use, future land use, and future desirability and future appearances and blah, 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 those sorts of things. So looking down the road, you got potential CUP exception issues, you got potential mixed use issues. Are they serious enough? You got a potential use of putting permanent foundations in there. Can these things be removed without creating other problems? Is it serious enough to deny conditional use permit? In my view, probably not. You know, there are issues, yes, but I think what everyone else is saying is probably accurate as well. In that, you know, it just probably, given the technicalities of redeveloping it into something like that, it's unlikely to become the kind of problem that I'm thinking it could become down the road. So,
And we'd be fine putting the language in. I mean, we're going to intend on using this as a dorm. So if you want to add the language in there, I don't think we would have an objection to that.
If the commission feels like it's worth noting as a concern, but you still feel comfortable making a recommendation today, we can follow up with the city attorney and see if he's got suggestions on verbiage for what you're talking about.
I would suggest we go ahead and recommend passage myself, but yes.
Okay.
It probably would be worth revisiting because it's better than just leaving it as an open-ended thing. These type of things can have weirder implications than it appears at first blush.
Yeah, sometimes when things linger, yes.
So the process would be we make a motion for approval pending conversation with the city attorney. And I mean, and then we have to come back, or how does that?
If you felt strongly enough like you couldn't make a recommendation today and you wanted to table it, you could do that so I could follow up with the city attorney. However, if you feel like you are able to make a recommendation, but just note this concern and I will follow up with him between now and council, then you could go ahead and make a motion today if you want.
Yeah, I'd like to, can I just go ahead and make the motion?
I have just one more quick question. I'm totally comfortable with that. Similarly, though, right now, there's no development proposed on the resource conservation area. And if that were to change down the road, they would have to come before us because they would be not in substantial compliance with the site plan. Right?
Pretty much any additional development would have to come before you because
Right,
you'd be out of
okay. So the
consent.
RC
Yeah.
is protected
Mhm.
no matter what.
Yes.
And that partly addresses your concern. Yeah. I support not stalling the project, but just noting exactly what you said.
So I'll make a motion that we accept and approve the project as drafted with caveat. We make a note for city council that there are some additional concerns they may want to look at once they take a look at it, and maybe run it by city attorney first so that it's a little more fully inflected by the time it gets there.
Second.
All right, so we have first and second. Any other comments before we go to vote? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Great. Passes unanimously. Good luck. Thank you.
very much.
You'll have a good day.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Stacy.
And I don't have anything else on my agenda. So Rachel, do you have anything to add?
No, just that next regular meeting is April 22nd. Right now, we don't have any public hearings scheduled, but my thought is we are still working on the wording since it does involve a lot of different departments, but we may try to use that as a work session for data center ordinance. So if you could hold that date for April 22nd, that would be good. That- Well, yeah, so yeah, sorry, data center discussion.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a public hearing. It would just be like a presentation and, yeah, questions, answers.
Great. I would also point out, Hurt and Profit presented something in Blacksburg on data centers, and they might be good to reach out to because they did a whole presentation to, I think, the Blacksburg Town Council. I think.
Is it gist? Is it advocacy? Or is it?
No, it's kind of just explaining some of the ramifications of it. I mean, if you're looking for more input, because I was still trying to just get input, so.
Probably be good.
Has there been an ordinance proposed? Did I hear that? No.
Not
And for
not
city of
here.
Lynchburg? No, okay.
No, just initiated that we should look at it, basically.
And I'm not proposing this, but it also seems like this is really a Region 2000 issue.
It probably is.
Because
Yeah.
Amherst County is dealing with this, and we've got overlap of person, I mean, it just seems, it
Campbell
goes
County.
way beyond what we're
Well,
dealing
the data
with.
centers are trying to get ahead of this too. They're
Right.
trying to skirt it
So-
by having their own power supplies.
So I strongly support moving forward with this, but I also think open communication with the surrounding jurisdictions is going to be valuable too.
Yeah.
We're all struggling with it. But
All right.
thanks for moving that forward.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Any motions to adjourn? Second. Great. Any opposition? Let's go.
Thank you.